I'm a famous author. I've never written a word of my books. You've seen my name before. No, I won't tell you which one it is. Not because I'm hiding. Not because of legal issues. But because I honestly have no idea which one it really is anymore. I live in a lakeside cabin on the edge of Pinefield, Washington. Quiet place. Small town vibes. You know the type. I used to be a technician, basic home installations, security systems, wires and routers. Nothing glamorous, but it paid steady. After my mom passed and left me the house, I fixed it up, modernized a bit. Didn't really have anyone else, no siblings, no partner. So I just stayed. Alone. Worked during the day, read at night. If you're someone who reads often, you've probably heard of some of the books I've published. Technically, I published them, but I didn't write a single word. And no, I'm not talking about ghostwriters or AI. I mean literally, I never wrote them. Not even an outline. See, everything changed the day I decided to renovate the upstairs closet. The cabin had this strange L-shaped hallway upstairs, with a closet that didn't match the exterior blueprint. I'd always figured it was just badly designed. But while cleaning out old floorboards, I noticed the back of the closet was hollow. Like, an entire section was sealed off. A wall that shouldn't have been there. Naturally, I tore it open. Behind it, just darkness. It wasn't a full room. More like a passage. Low ceiling. Smelled of wet wood and something metallic. A bit like blood and mildew, bundled together. I grabbed a flashlight and climbed inside. It was cramped. Dusty. Silent. 10 feet in, I found them. A stack of crisp, white paper, 20 pages. No folder. No title. No binder clips. Just sitting there like they'd been waiting. I brought them back out, set them on the kitchen table, and read them that night. And they were perfect. I don't mean grammatically. I mean soul-wrenching, immersive, heart-thrumming perfect. The kind of story that makes you forget you're even reading. I finished it in one sitting, completely shaken. But the final sentence, it stopped mid-thought. Like someone had yanked the pen away. I flipped through the pages. Reread them. Again. And again. But there was no ending. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept checking the room. The pages. My own memory. By morning, I'd already called in sick. I decided to return the pages, maybe symbolically. Put them back where I found them. But when I crawled back in, the original stack was gone. And a new stack waited in its place. Different story. Same clean format. Same breathless quality. I read them all before the sun went down. That was the beginning. The pattern was simple. Read the pages. New ones would appear. Never more than 20 at a time. Never the same story twice. Over the next few weeks, I kept reading. I started skipping meals. I stopped going out. I turned down jobs. Ghosted old clients. All I wanted was the next story. And they kept coming. Beautiful, brutal, brilliant. Eventually, I sent one to a literary agent. Just to see what would happen. She responded within 2 days. "Where have you been hiding all this time?" she wrote. She offered me a contract by the end of the week. I didn't even feel guilty. Because I hadn't stolen anything. The stories came to me. I didn't ask for them. The book sold quickly. Faster than anyone expected. Major publishing house. Full advance. National coverage. They called me the voice of a generation. Said I'd reinvented the literary thriller. I said nothing. The editor claimed the draft needed no changes. No rewrites. Not even typos. They printed it as is. The book exploded. Within 3 months, it hit #1 on the bestseller list. Bookstores couldn't keep it stocked. Book clubs fought over copies. Social media was full of readers sobbing, praising, rereading. And through it all, I just watched. In my quiet cabin. In my dim-lit hallway. With the crawl space behind the closet, feeding me stories. I told myself it was a one-time thing. A miracle. A mistake that would never happen again. But 2 months after release, when the silence grew too loud, I opened the crawl space again and found another stack waiting for me. The next stack was longer. 25 pages. Slightly thicker paper. Same spotless surface, as if it had just come off the printer. I didn't even bother questioning it this time. I didn't try to rationalize where it came from. I just read. And again, it was perfect. Not good perfect. Not this'll sell perfect. It was ruin you for other books perfect. I finished it in one sitting. No water. No bathroom break. No checking my phone. Just eyes locked to the page like I was starving, and this was the only food I'd ever seen. It ended on another cliffhanger. Mid-dialogue. I didn't panic this time. I just crawled back into the hidden passage. Another stack waited. That was the pattern now. Read, return, receive. I started calling it the reading room. Not aloud, just in my head. It didn't feel like a crawl space anymore. It felt like a ritual, a sacred exchange. Words for attention, stories for obsession. Eventually, I submitted the second manuscript. Same publisher, same editor, same result. No changes, not even a comma. The second book sold better than the first. Bookstores hosted midnight launches. Book talk went feral. People filmed themselves crying over the final chapter. My agent joked, "It's like your words are alive." I didn't laugh. I did one podcast, one interview, just audio, no face reveal. The host asked me, "What's your writing process?" I froze. I remember the silence dragging. Then I said something like, "Oh, late nights, coffee, messy outlines." It was a lie, but it was easier than the truth. I kept writing. Except, I still wasn't writing anything. Just reading. Every 6 months, like clockwork, I'd publish another masterpiece. Every 6 months, another 20 stacks would appear in the reading room. People begged me for more. Teenagers swore my stories saved their lives. Others claimed they couldn't stop reading me, even when they tried. I should have been happy. Instead, I was terrified. Because I couldn't stop either. It wasn't just addiction. It was dependency. See, there were side effects. I started getting headaches if I didn't read one of my stories for a few days. Then fevers. Then blackouts. I tested it. I went 1 week without touching a single page. Locked myself in my room. No books. No laptops. By day 4, my fingernails cracked. By day 6, I was vomiting. By day 7, I was in the ER. Dehydrated. Confused. Babbling about paper. They thought it was a virus. Maybe it was. The moment I got home, I tore open one of my own books, book 1, and started reading. Relief hit me like a drug. My pulse slowed. My headache vanished. I could breathe again. I didn't even like the story anymore. I just needed it. After that, I stopped fighting it. I leaned into it. I redesigned the second bedroom in my cabin into a library, floor-to-ceiling shelves, perfect lighting, climate-controlled. But here's the strange part. I didn't fill it with books. Just my books. Stacked in rows. Perfect condition. Hardcover only. Hundreds of copies of the same titles. Sometimes, I would finish reading one and walk directly to the shelf, grab the same book again, and start over from the beginning. Sometimes, I didn't even realize I was doing it. I stopped answering calls. Stopped opening emails. Stopped responding to my dad. All I did was read. My publisher thought I was a genius recluse. They didn't see the way my fingers trembled when I went too long between stories. They didn't hear me muttering entire paragraphs from memory. They didn't watch me press my ear against the closet wall, listening for whispers. Then came the letters. Not fan mail, though I got plenty of that. These were different. Typed on the same perfect white paper. No envelopes. Just folded sheets, left outside my door. Always the same format. You're not alone. We're watching. You don't know what you're doing. Stop publishing. At first, I thought it was a prank. Some unhinged reader. But then they got personal. One note mentioned the reading room. Another included a sentence from the original first chapter, the one I never published. One letter ended with, "You're feeding it." I stopped sleeping after that. I went back down to the reading room. No new pages. Just the smell. Rotting cedar. Wet ink. But something was different. The air felt heavy. Like the story had grown roots, and they were pushing up through the walls. I looked up. There was something carved into the wood above me. I hadn't seen it before. 5 words. Don't read what's next. But I did. Of course I did. Another stack waited beneath it. Fresh. Waiting. Perfect. And I devoured it. The third series was the biggest yet. Larger print run. Global rights. Even a streaming adaptation was in development. They flew a director out to my cabin. He wanted to understand the creative process. I lied, of course. Said I wrote longhand. Said I burned all my drafts. He nodded, wide-eyed, like I was a genius. "I can feel it in your work," he said. "The hunger. The urgency. It's like it's alive." I smiled. But inside, I wanted to scream. Because he was right. The stories were alive. And they were eating us. The messages didn't stop. Sometimes they were carved into my doorstep. Sometimes taped to the inside of my fridge. Once, I found one tucked into a hardcover copy at a bookstore, already signed by me. It spreads through the reading. Your words are seeds. They grow in us. But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Every month, the side effects grew worse. My gums bled. My vision blurred. Some mornings I woke up with ink-stained fingers, even though I hadn't touched a pen in years. I developed a twitch in my right eye. Still I read. Still I published. Still I fed it. That's when I started hearing from the readers. Not just fan mail. Not praise. Something else. Emails. Voicemails. Handwritten letters. Rambling. Unhinged. But similar. One man wrote, "I've read the first book 17 times. I have to. If I stop, the dreams come back." Another, "My wife burned all the copies. I drove 4 hours just to buy another one. I slept in the parking lot. I feel safe when I hold it." And then this, "Your books are the only thing keeping her still. When I put them down, she moves." No name. No context. Just that. I tried to warn the publisher. Half-heartedly. I told them, "Some fans are getting obsessed." They smiled. "Exactly what we want," they said. Engagement. Fan loyalty. I didn't argue. What could I say? That I'd found a trapdoor in my closet? That every sentence I'd ever published had come from something beneath my house? That I hadn't written a single word? No one would believe me. And honestly, I wasn't sure I believed it anymore either. The crawlspace had changed. It was larger now. Wider. Taller. I no longer had to crouch. The walls had shifted too. No longer raw timber. Stone. Cold, pulsing stone. I touched it once. It was breathing. I thought I was hallucinating. Sleep-deprived. Overworked. So I stopped reading for a full week. No contact. No pages. No stories. It was the longest I'd gone in years. Day 1, shaking. Sweating. Day 2, vision doubled. Nosebleeds. Day 3, I collapsed in the kitchen. And when I woke up, there was a book on my chest. Not a stack of pages. A finished, printed, bound book. My name on the cover. A title I hadn't chosen. The Endless Readers. I flipped to the copyright page. Published 2 weeks ago. How? I went online. It existed. Had reviews. Rankings. Already top 10 in horror. Already being adapted. I scrolled through a fan forum. Every comment said the same thing. I can't stop. It's like it's inside me. When I'm not reading, I feel watched. I check my email. 200 new messages. One caught my eye. No sender. Just the subject line. "We warned you." The body of the message was blank, except for a photo. It was my house. My closet door. Open. And at the bottom of the frame, barely visible, was a hand. Thin. Colorless. Reaching up. That night, I barricaded the door. I dragged bookshelves across the frame. Pushed my dresser on top of that. Nailed the frame shut. Then I burned everything I had. All the pages. All the extra copies. Even the notes I jotted down in the margins. I thought maybe it would be over. That I could stop the spread. But the next morning, the books were back. Dozens of them. Lined up on my front porch. Wrapped in ribbon. One note rested on top. "You publish. Or it reads you." I started seeing her. Not all at once. Not in a dream. But gradually, through the cracks. Behind windows. In reflections. In the shimmer of a turned-off screen. She was never fully visible. Only parts. A hand. A sliver of a face. Hair like wet ink curling along the floorboards. But always, always, watching. It didn't take long to realize. She was the one writing. I tested it. One night, I left a blank notebook on the floor of the crawlspace. Fresh, untouched, spiral-bound. In the morning, it was full. Not just scribbled. Perfect typeset pages. Font matched to the last book. Chapter after chapter. A flawless continuation of a story I hadn't even started. I flipped through the pages with trembling hands. My name was already printed at the top. As if I'd written it. As if I was her. I stopped calling myself a writer. I stopped calling myself anything. Days blurred into each other. Nights were for reading. Mornings were for submitting. The manuscript would be published before I'd even finished reading it. The industry loved me. I was a legend. A recluse. A mystery. Some even said I was a ghost. They were closer than they knew. One evening, a delivery arrived at my door. No name. No postage. Just a package. Inside was a foreign edition of my first book, translated into a language I didn't recognize. The pages were soaked. Water damaged. Swollen. I held it up and water dripped onto my floor. No message. No sender. No explanation. Only one thing was different. The dedication page. To the ghostwriter below. Who watches? Who whispers? Who weaves? I dropped it. Backed away. But the words were already in my mind. They always were. I decided to go deeper. Not metaphorically. Literally. I pulled out the carpeting in the crawlspace. I ripped away the floorboards beneath, dug into the dirt. There had to be a bottom. There had to be a source. The deeper I dug, the wetter the earth became, until finally, I hit stone. Smooth, cold, covered in writing. Not etched. Written, ink pressed directly onto the surface. The words were in every language I knew, and some I didn't. They told stories. Short ones, long ones, impossible ones, and in the center, a handprint, pressed deep into the stone. Too long, too thin, inhuman. It was still damp. I ran upstairs. I packed a bag, clothes, wallet, laptop. I had to leave. The house, the books, the name they'd given me, all of it. But at the front door, there she was. For the first time, full form, pale, ink-slick skin, eyes like wet paper, a mouth that stretched far too wide, stitched with lines of text. She said nothing, just placed a hand against my chest. And I understood. I wasn't leaving, because I wasn't mine anymore. The next book was titled The Ghostwriter Below. It wrote itself. I didn't even pretend to read it before sending it to my agent. They called me the next day in tears. "It's your best work," she sobbed. It's like it was waiting to be told. I said nothing. I couldn't. My tongue was sore. Raw. I'd bitten it in my sleep. Or someone had. The fans loved it. Loved me. They said the new book felt deeper. Like something ancient had touched it. They weren't wrong. Emails poured in again. But they were different now. More urgent. More desperate. The story changes when I'm not looking. I woke up with a paragraph on my arm. I can't tell what's real anymore. I think I'm in it. One email was just a photo of a mirror, and in the reflection, my face, smiling. I stopped answering the door, stopped opening the blinds, stopped speaking. My teeth fell out completely that year. I learned to drink soup through a straw. The hunger to read became unbearable. I'd reread entire series in a single sitting, just to keep the headaches at bay. But it never satisfied me. Not really. Only new stories helped now. Only her stories. So I went down. Again. And again. Until the earth beneath my house was packed with footprints. Each step deeper. Each book heavier. Each chapter less mine. The last time I went down there, I didn't come back up right away. I couldn't. Because something changed. Not in the crawl space. But in me. It started with the words. They began writing before I even got to the pages. Drifting into my head. Curling behind my eyes. Finishing my thoughts for me. Not sentences I was reading. Sentences I hadn't yet lived. He stepped into the dark, not realizing he wouldn't remember sunlight again. I paused, then stepped forward. There was a mirror in the crawl space now. It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. A tall, full-length mirror with a rusted black frame. And something deeply wrong about its reflection. My figure was there. But the face? The face wasn't mine. Not anymore. The crawl space had grown. Deeper. Wider. The air was heavier. The walls wetter. And instead of one stack of pages, there were dozens. Scattered along the dirt like fallen leaves. Some were blank. Some were bleeding. One, in the center, pulsed like it was breathing. I picked it up. And it whispered back. "This one's the last." I tried to leave it. Really, I did. I placed the page back down, turned around, climbed out, sealed the trapdoor. I even nailed it shut. I locked the guest room, boarded it, moved my bed to the living room. But that night, the whispers came. From the sink, the walls, inside my own mouth. I bit my tongue and tasted ink. When I turned on the light, words had been carved into the walls. "You're not done. The readers are hungry. One more sentence." So I gave in. Again. I opened the door, ripped out the nails, went back down, and there she was, the ghostwriter, sitting beside the stack of pages, ink running from her eyes, her fingers stitched together with thread made of letters. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She only reached for my hand and held out the page. It was blank until I touched it. Then the ink began to rise, like it had been under the surface all along. A single sentence. One line. That's all it said. The final sentence is the one that ends you. My breath caught. The crawl space grew colder. The walls leaned in, and the sentence began writing itself again. Underneath the first one. He sat down. He stopped struggling. He gave the world one last story, his own. I looked up. She was gone. But the mirror wasn't. I stood before it, looked into it one last time. And this time, I saw everything. The boy I'd been. The plumber. The reader. The liar. The thief. The author of none. But the messenger of all. And then I smiled. Because I knew the truth now. The story hadn't just taken from me. It had become me. When I came back up, it was morning. The house was different. The windows were bricked over. The doors had vanished. Every wall was covered in my books. Not printed copies, but written copies. In ink. In blood. In flesh. I didn't recognize a single title, but they all had my name. And then the fans came. Not through the door. They rose up from the floor. Eyes missing. Tongues stained black. Hands trembling with hunger. One by one, they reached out their books to me. Pleading. Silent. Waiting for the next page. I gave it to them. Because I had no choice. Because by then, the crawl space wasn't under the house anymore. It was inside me. And every time I blinked, I saw the sentence again. Etched into my skull. Burned behind my eyes. The final sentence is the one that ends you. And I think I finally understand. Because the stories don't end when the pages stop. They end when you do. When the last reader puts the book down. When the last heartbeat skips over the final word. When the silence creeps in. And the mirror reflects nothing. I'm not a writer. Not a thief. Not a man. I'm a passage. A doorway between the pages. And you? You're holding the book now, aren't you? You're still listening. Still hungry. Still waiting. For one more sentence.